So this video is part 2 of the geometry setup for the wind blade, and in this part we will set up the enclosure for the flow around the wind blade. So the first thing we'll need to do is measure the distance to the tip of the wind blade. So go up to the top, click measure, click on the measure toolbar, and then we'll click the measure tool. Then click on click on the origin and on this a line on the top surface so you can measure the distance between them. And we'll see that distance is about 305 millimeters. We'll need that later, so I'm going to write that down for now. So yeah. So now we'll go on to create a cross section of the flow domain. So go back over to design, and we'll create a sketch plane, and we'll click on the z-axis, which is the normal to the sketch plane. We're sketching the xy plane, and we'll click to view normal to the plane. So we're going to create a 1/3 of a circle, so 120-degree arc enclosed. So we'll click on line tool, go snapping to curve center, and so we want to create the radius of this enclosure to be 2.5 wind blade lengths. So it's 305 millimeters is our wind blade length. So we multiply that by 2.5, and we get about 750. So 750 millimeters, and we need that to be 30 degrees up from the horizontal, the positive x, so we can get our 120-degree arc centered at the y-axis. So we'll hit escape, and then we'll do the same thing again on the other side. Make sure you click on the original say snapping to endpoint in the upper left corner. And then once again, 750 millimeters. And in this case, we'll say 120 degrees between the two. And so now we have our second line, so we'll hit escape twice. Click on the 3-point arc tool. Click the end of the second line. And click the end of the first line. And then set the radius to be 750 millimeters, and we'll see we get 120 degrees of arc length, which is what we want. So that's all good. Then we go back to body mode. Now we have it as a surface. Go back to trimetric mode so we can see it the way we want to. And now we need to pull it to create the enclosure. So we'll click on pull, surface, go into options, pull, and click no merge. We want to keep the blade and the surface separate. We'll just pull it towards the inlet. So that's the negative z direction. 2.5 wind blade length, so that's again 750 millimeters. And then we'll pull this face again. Select pull, this face, and once again no merge. We'll pull it down towards the outlet. This time 5 wind blade lengths, that's 1500 millimeters. And so that gives us our enclosure. The next step is to combine the enclosure with the blade to create the flow domain. Alright, so we'll click on combine. We'll go to options combine, and we'll deselect keep cutter, we don't want that. Then we'll go back, and for the target object we'll take the solid enclosure, and for the cutter object we'll take the loft, the blade. And that'll give us 2 new objects now, one of which is just the blade surface, so we'll rename that blade wall solid, which is the area, the volume of the region minus the blade. And so it's a flow domain. We'll call that flow domain. And now we're done with the blade. So we're gonna hide that and right-click suppress for physics. We can still see if we go into section view and take a section of the origin, we can still see that we have a hole where the blade used to be. So let's go back to 3D view. The final step is we need to create name selections for the faces. So go to select. So this is the downstream and the outlet. So go to groups, click on the face, groups, name selection. I'll just call that outlet. Take this top surface. Let's create name selection. That is inlet top. And it's important to name these because that'll help ANSYS come up with guesses for what their behavior will be later for boundary conditions. We're going to hide this face, inlet top, so we'll right-click on the surface, face, hide face, and now we can see inside, we can see the blade surface, and we can see also this is the inlet here, so we'll keep going creating name selections. It's the inlet. So now these two surfaces, these rectangles, they're the periodic boundary conditions, And we want to name these periodic 1 and periodic 2, and periodic 1 should be leading periodic 2 when we rotate. So this is rotating about the positive z-axis. So this face is going to be the leading face. So we'll click on it, create name selection, periodic 1, and this one, create name selection, periodic 2. And the final thing we need to do is select the blade. So I'm going to once again hide these, hide the periodic faces as well. The best way to take the whole blade without missing any parts of it is to select using the box. So you could draw a box around the blade and it'll select the whole thing. Create name selection, blade, wall, and finally we'll right click on this, face, show all faces, and we have all our name selections. You can find the blade again, etc. So that is all good. Instruction will see the blade wall is still suppressed. So that's all for the geometry, and we're not saving it in Space Claim. So we go back to Workbench, we go File, Save.